King Edgar the Peaceful ruled England from 959 until his death in 975. His reign is frequently portrayed as a time of peace, prosperity, and consolidation, particularly following the turbulent rule of his brother Edwig. Edgar's legacy is one of strengthening the monarchy, unifying England, and restoring peace in a time when the kingdom was still recovering from Viking invasions and internal conflicts. His reign marked a critical period of Anglo-Saxon history as he sought to solidify royal authority, strengthen the church, and create a sense of national unity. While Edgar's reign may not have been as militarily remarkable as that of his predecessors, his ability to navigate the complex political and social dynamics of his time earned him the epithet the Peaceful. His governance, however, was not solely defined by peace. It was also a period of cultural flourishing, ecclesiastical reform, and administrative innovation. Edgar was born around 943, the son of King Edwig and his wife Wulfrun. He was one of two surviving sons from Edwig's marriage to Wulfrun, with his older brother Eardwig having already died young. Edgar's early life was marked by the challenges of growing up in a kingdom riven by political instability, with disputes over succession and a kingdom still divided between Wessex, Mercia, and the Danelaw. Following the death of Edwig in 959, Edgar succeeded to the throne at the age of around 16 or 17. At the time of Edgar's ascension, England was still recovering from the tumultuous rule of his brother Eardwig, who had been ousted by the nobility in 959 due to his disputes with the church and the political elite. Eardwig's removal had left the kingdom in a state of unrest, and it was up to Edgar to restore peace and stability. He was supported by powerful noble factions and ecclesiastical leaders, including Archbishop Oda of Canterbury, who had previously clashed with Eardwig, and Edgar's reign was characterized by a more harmonious relationship between the monarchy and the church. One of the first challenges Edgar faced was to solidify his position as king, particularly in the north, where the Danelaw, regions of England previously settled by Viking invaders, remained a source of division and external threat. However, unlike his predecessors, Edgar had a strong political base in Wessex and was able to win the support of the majority of the English nobility, both in the south and the north. One of Edgar's most significant accomplishments during his reign was the consolidation of England into a unified kingdom. By the time of his ascension to the throne, England had been divided for generations due to the presence of the Danelaw and the varying degrees of power exercised by local lords. The Viking threat, although diminished compared to previous decades, still loomed large in some parts of the kingdom. Despite the political fragmentation, Edgar's reign saw the continued integration of the northern and eastern regions into a more cohesive England. During the early years of Edgar's reign, the Kingdom of Northumbria was still under the control of Viking rulers. However, Edgar was able to exert significant influence over the north by strategically managing alliances with the local elites. The unification of England was not achieved through force of arms alone, but through diplomacy, patronage, and political acumen. Edgar maintained good relations with the Scandinavian kings in the north, which allowed him to establish control over the northern territories without resorting to constant military campaigns. In 973, Edgar was formally crowned King of the English in a ceremony at Bath, an event that symbolized the unification of the kingdom. The coronation was significant, not only as a religious ritual, but also as a political statement of Edgar's authority over all of England. Edgar's control over the entire kingdom, from the southern shores of Wessex to the northern regions of Northumbria, was symbolized by his coronation, which was recognized by both the Anglo-Saxon nobility and the church. Through a combination of military success and diplomatic strategy, Edgar secured his reign over all of England. He consolidated power in a way that his predecessors, including his father Edred and grandfather Ethelstan, had attempted but never fully achieved. By 975, Edgar could claim to be the undisputed ruler of England, with a kingdom more unified than it had been in previous centuries. One of the defining features of Edgar's reign was his close relationship with the Church, which played a critical role in strengthening his rule. The Church in Anglo-Saxon England held considerable influence over both spiritual and temporal matters, and the king's relationship with the ecclesiastical authorities was essential for maintaining stability and legitimacy. Edgar's reign was marked by close cooperation with the Church, particularly with Archbishop Oda of Canterbury, who had been instrumental in the deposition of Edgar's brother Eardwig. Edgar's strong ties to the Church were reflected in his patronage of monasticism, and he actively supported the establishment of new monasteries throughout England. He was also a key supporter of the reformist movement within the Church, which sought to purify and revitalize religious life by promoting the Benedictine rule. This reform movement, which had begun in the 10th century, aimed to restore discipline and piety within the monastic communities. In 973, Edgar held a great council at Winchester, which is sometimes referred to as the Winchester Synod, where important religious reforms were introduced. At this council, Edgar affirmed his commitment to ecclesiastical reform by decreeing that all monasteries in England should adopt the Benedictine rule, which emphasized a life of communal prayer, work, and study. Edgar also worked to strengthen the Church's control over land and wealth, ensuring that ecclesiastical institutions had greater influence in English society. Edgar's relationship with the Church also extended to his own coronation, which was a highly significant religious event. The coronation was conducted by Archbishop Oda, and it reinforced the idea that kingship was divinely ordained. This coronation symbolized the close connection between the monarchy and the Church, and Edgar used this connection to further strengthen his own legitimacy. The title, the Peaceful, is often applied to Edgar due to the relative stability and prosperity of his reign. Compared to the tumultuous reigns of his predecessors, Edgar's rule was characterized by an absence of major external threats, allowing for greater focus on internal governance and the development of England's institutions. While the Viking threat was not entirely eradicated, Edgar was able to maintain peace through diplomacy and strategic alliances, preventing the sort of large-scale invasions that had plagued England in the previous centuries. Edgar's reign was also marked by significant economic growth, partly as a result of the stability he brought to the kingdom. With reduced military conflict and a unified kingdom, trade routes flourished and agricultural production increased. The peace that Edgar maintained allowed for the development of towns and markets, facilitating economic exchange. This period of prosperity was also accompanied by a cultural renaissance, with the Church playing a central role in the intellectual and artistic life of the kingdom. Under Edgar's rule, the Anglo-Saxon kingdom saw the expansion of literacy, the production of religious texts, and the establishment of schools within monasteries. Edgar's support for learning and scholarship led to the flourishing of monastic education, which contributed to the preservation of Anglo-Saxon culture and the spread of Christian values. While Edgar's reign is remembered for its peace, it was also a period of effective military and administrative governance. Although there were few large-scale military campaigns, Edgar maintained a strong military presence, ensuring the security of his kingdom's borders and suppressing any rebellions. He was one of the first Anglo-Saxon kings to implement a formal system of royal taxation, which helped fund the kingdom's military and administrative needs. This system of taxation, along with Edgar's effective use of local rulers and the church to govern regions, strengthened his control over England and ensured the efficient management of royal resources. Edgar the Peaceful died in 975 at the age of around 32, leaving behind a kingdom that was more unified and stable than it had been in generations. His death, however, marked the beginning of a period of instability, as his sons were young and unable to maintain the unity and peace that Edgar had established. Edgar's legacy, therefore, is not only one of peace and prosperity, but also one of the challenges that would later arise following his death. His sons, Edward the Martyr and Ethelred the Unready, would struggle to maintain the power that Edgar had so skillfully consolidated. King Edgar the Peaceful's reign was a period of remarkable consolidation and prosperity for Anglo-Saxon England. His political acumen, ability to maintain peace, and close relationship with the Church helped to strengthen the monarchy and solidify his legacy as one of England's most capable rulers. While Edgar's reign was not marked by grand military victories, his ability to navigate the complexities of his kingdom's political, social, and religious landscapes allowed him to achieve lasting stability. Edgar's legacy as a king of peace and reform continues to be celebrated as one of the high points in early English history.